Hello, I'm Brian Emery. I'm a faculty in the photography department here at FIT. Today I want to go over some basics of photography and lighting for students looking to photograph their work. We're here on the 6th floor of the library in the Art Resource Lab. This is a self-service lab available to students from any major at FIT. It's available on a first-come, first-served basis whenever the 6th floor of the library is open. The Art Resources Lab provides space for enlarging, projecting, and photographing your work. So let's first talk about the equipment, how to get the tripod set up and get your camera on it and set your camera correctly for using the space. So this is the tripod in the Art Resources Lab, and it's a great tripod. And what you want to do is, in order to put your camera on it, the first thing is you want to take off this quick release. So the quick release has a little pull-out button here and a little lever that you pull, and this plate comes off. And then you can just screw this into the bottom of your camera and then just stick it back on the tripod and it will lock into place. Once your camera's on the tripod, you can use these knobs to adjust it. This one will allow you to tilt it up and down. This one will allow you to go side to side. And this bottom one will allow you to pan back and forth. So when possible, I would suggest using the DSLR in this space rather than your phone. Your phone might have an excellent camera in it, but it's very hard to control certain aspects of the camera, especially the color. The phones will try to guess what the color should be, and a lot of times it will change the color of what it is that you are photographing. You also might not have enough control over how bright or dark or how contrasty it is, and using this camera is going to help with that a lot. Now, to set up the camera, the way I think it would work best in here is first to turn the power on. And then the setting I would suggest to use is this one called AV. So I'm going to click that dial to the AV. And that's aperture priority, and that will allow me to control the depth of field of the camera, or how sharp or blurry everything is from the foreground to the background. So if I have a low number, like f3.5, that's going to give me a shallow depth of field. It's kind of going to look like portrait mode on an iPhone, where it makes the background blurry. If I have a high number, like f22, that's going to make the background sharp and the foreground sharp. Everything is going to look in focus from the foreground to the background. Now, if I want to take this a little bit of a step further, I can make my image brighter or darker by holding this little plus minus button right here, push it and hold it, and then I turn the dial, and I can turn one way to make the notch go lower, which will make it darker, or I can scroll it up to the plus direction to make the image brighter. The last adjustment I would make on a DSLR is to set my white balance. All of our lights in the Art Resource Lab are daylight, so I would click my white balance button and I would move my scroll wheel to the little sun icon, which is daylight. And that's going to set my white balance to be the same color temperature as the lights in here, so the image will look exactly like it's supposed to look. If you want the image to be any warmer, like more yellow or cooler, more blue, because of your own kind of aesthetic decisions, I would do that in post-production, like in Lightroom or Canva or something like that. The first aspect of lighting that we're going to talk about today is the quality of light, whether the light is hard, making hard shadows, or soft. This here is a softbox, so the way that the light is to begin with is going to be a soft light and make the shadows sort of soft and not as dark and contrasty as they would be in like a bright sunny situation. But with these softboxes, we can take the diffuser off of the front and just use the bare lights with the reflector to make the light harder and make the shadows sharper. When you want to use this light to begin, make sure it's plugged in. And then if you want to angle the light, we have these knobs, one at the top that can angle the light up and down. And in the back, we have the switch here. Maybe you can see the little arrow. We have the switch where you can turn the light on or off. And if you want to move the light up or down to get it higher or lower, you can loosen the knob, pull the tripod up, and tighten the knob to hold the light in place. Another option we have for hard light is this wonderful little spotlight right here. So this spotlight has some barn doors you can open and close, and it makes a very sharp, hard shadows. And you can turn it on and off with these buttons in the back. There's an on button, and then you can turn the power up or down with the up and down button. And this light actually has a little twisty feature here, which can allow you to focus the spotlight even closer or make the spot wider and more cover more area. So what we have here is a basic 3-light setup that you could use to shoot your work, where we have in the front, we have a soft light kind of coming from the side. That's sort of acting as our key light. That's the main light that we're gonna put on our object. On the back, we have the spotlight hitting onto the background to create a little background light to separate the object off of the foreground. And on the side, we have what's called a fill light. So we have another light bouncing off of the whiteboard on the side just to get a little bit of extra light into the shadow side of your object so that it doesn't get too dark. Now let me show you what this looks like in a studio situation. Right now, what we basically have, we're gonna go just light by light so we can see what each light is doing. So here first is our soft light. From about 45 degrees away from the camera, angled on the fabric. I'll make a photograph and we can see there the sort of photograph. So this is very wide. We're seeing the stage. We can see it is getting pretty hard shadows on the one side because even though it's a soft light, there's really no light coming in on the other side. And one thing we can do if we want is we can always put another light coming into the fill side or into the shadow area. And if we do that and we take the same photograph again, we're gonna see a little bit less shadow in there. So if we go back, see how that's a little heavier on the shadow side, that opens it up. We still have some nice folds there, but it opens it up a little, makes it look a little less dirty and kind of heavy in the shadows. And let's just try the spotlight. Very dramatic. Okay, that makes it wide. Interesting. So I'm gonna close down the barn doors a bit so that there's like kind of fall off, so the light's not going off onto the backdrop as much. And let's take a look. So we see a much more kind of dramatic, intense shadows, a lot more depth and things like that. All right, what I'm gonna try to do here is show you two different ideas of focus. So I'm zoomed way in here, and the first one I'm gonna shoot is with the aperture wide open, and we're gonna have a pretty shallow depth of field. And then I'm gonna try and make the same exact picture with a deep depth of field. So I'm closing it way down. So the first one, the number was 2.8, which just means it's wide open as much as it can. And the second one, the number is 22. So this is just how the aperture works. I think you're just gonna learn it by doing it. You'll try twisting the knob, and if it's shallower and you like it, then you'll go with it. It doesn't really matter what the numbers are, but just for what it's worth, the lower the number, the more wide open the lens, and the shallower the depth of field. And then the last thing I'll just do here is, while we're zoomed in, we'll turn this off, and we'll bring the spotlight over to the side so we get a lot of shape, full brightness. Let me get in even a little closer. I want to show you how this shows so much of the detail of the actual kind of the weave and the actual details of the fabric. Let me just get a really nice tight focus. So with this really hard light, if we look in there, with this hard light all the way from the side, we really see just a ton of detail of all the little bits and pieces, the warp and the weft of the fabric. And it's just a much more detailed than with the soft light. It's much more detailed than when the light is coming from the front. So if we want that kind of dramatic and that high detail of the texture, this is the kind of light we would probably be working with. Thanks for joining me for this tutorial. If you have any more questions, check out the tutorials on the webpage. The link will be in the description.